Yo, 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 what's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Third intermission here, a special NHL Trade Deadline recap show. It's your boy Avery in the house here, recording with the Mandem Jason. Wow.
Yo,
Jason, tra-
yo,
trade
what a
deadline
day.
day. Yeah, oh man, usually a trade deadline day or even days beforehand, a little bit quiet. Not this year. We saw a lot of activity around the league involving the US teams, Canadian teams, the Leaf Dam, Edmonton, other teams. And wow, it was move after move after move. Impact players moving, shocking moves. I mean, the biggest shock of the day, Brad Marchand goes to Florida. But
Oh, dude. Like, that doesn't even sound right. That doesn't even
right?
sound right. You said Brad Marchand is going to Florida, bro. Like, what the hell?
I that is wrapping mind around that is still surprising, but that's just good GM work from Bill Zito down in Florida. And we'll get there in a second. But we want to start off with the Canadian teams. Of course, they're intermission. It'll be fitting for a start up north and starting with the Leaf Dam. Brad Treliving and Company had a very active day, very active time, making moves. Of course, this is a team that was rumored to be around the big boys, are rumored to be around possibly trying to get guys like Rantanen and other big names. So the big hitters that Toronto does get, they end up getting Scott Laughton from Philadelphia, and they end up getting Brandon Carlo from the Boston Bruins as Brad Living fills up two holes. You get a third line center, and you get a strong D man in Brandon Carlo for the top four. And I think those are two solid pieces. Brandon Carlo's name I wanted to see in Edmonton, but that's a good bit of work for Brad for living to shore up the back end by bringing in Brandon Carlo, and you get some third line depth with Scott Laughton coming to Toronto. Your thoughts on that one, Jason?
Well, like, at first, like, it was pretty underwhelming because, like, when I got to see the board, there was nothing on our board and everything, all kinds of excitement was happening. I kind of had a feeling that Scotland was the guy, just because not only is he a leader in the locker room, he retrieves pucks, he plays on edge, like, he's tough, he can fight, but not only that, he can score, and he has a good voice in the locker room. And I say that to say this, like, when shit gets real in the playoffs, you need a voice in the room. You know what I mean? And Scott Laughton is gonna be that guy for the Leafs. Now, what that does is it takes a lot of pressure off John Tavares. Now, he doesn't have to take as many defensive zone faceoffs. He doesn't have to play as hard of a defensive game as he has been playing, knowing that Domi can't really excel in a 3C role. Now you have a guy that can come in and play the 3C. That's something we desperately needed because, like, in our bottom six, it's a hit or miss. But the piece that we were missing the most was a tough guy that could play matchups, win faceoffs, get pucks, use his body, and help the team score goals. And not only that, Avery, Scott Laughton has some success in the playoffs. Like, and the problem for the Leafs is that they weren't able to score any goals in the playoffs, like when they needed goals. And
Mhm.
now you have Lawrence on the team, and you have Scott Laughton, two Ontario boys, and Lawton wants to be here. He wanted to play here. He played his amateur hockey with the Toronto Marlies. So that was a tidy piece of business by Brad. Now, the trade overall was a very good trade. Now, I understand, like, in order to get better, you got to sacrifice pieces. We lost Fraser Minton. He does have NHL potential. I think he'll excel in Boston. He's gonna come back and kill us. I already know, but he's gonna be a great 3C for the future. Um, and I believe we also gave up a first, and I can't remember. Yeah, and then we ended up sending Connor Timmins and Connor Dewar to Pittsburgh, and yeah, I think. Sorry for Lawton. I can't remember the other piece we added. It was the picks, right?
And Nikita Grabevkin as well too.
Grabenkin, back
Yes.
check, forecheck, paycheck. I had a brain fart there. I'm gonna miss that guy. Back check, forecheck, paycheck. That guy, he's gonna fit Philly style. If you look at how the coach out there is trying to build his guys, like Grabenkin is gonna come in there and make an impact, and Philly just take care of him. You know what I mean? He's gonna be a great piece for you guys for sure. And I think that the fact that we were able to get them to retain for this year and next year was the icing on the cake because he comes in at 1.5. So I am happy for that trade because, like I said, we addressed that need at 3C. We actually have a guy now that can play down the middle on the third line. That gives Tavares more room to work, man. So I'm happy with that move by Tree Living. He addressed a need, and he got somebody that makes us better and is gonna play with that Toronto attitude. You know what I mean? And you know, bring the heat and play that playoff style hockey that's gonna make us successful in the preseason, man. I mean in the postseason.
Mhm. And you mentioned there, you mentioned, wanting to win now and sacrificing, trading away pieces in that deal. In the deal for Brandon Carlo, you see the Leafs trading away a top five protected pick for 2026 and a fourth round pick here in the draft in 2025. And that's a big thing. Is we talk about on the show all the time how this Leafs team has to take the next step. They got to find a way to get past the first round, the second round, make an Eastern Conference final. And in a vision which is a logjam with Tampa at 78 points, Toronto at 79, Florida at 81, and all three of these teams having a strong performance in their past 10 games, it's a matter of making an impact right now and seeing who you will face come the postseason. Because if you want to get to an Eastern Conference final, if you're Toronto, or if you want to make it to a Cup final, you have to find a way to get through Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Florida. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
100%. 100%. And with the addition of Carlo now, yes, we gave up Minton. And, you know, Kyle Dubas did us a solid. We sent Dewar and Timmins to Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, that was a solid, I felt. But Timmins didn't have a place. But as far as Carlo goes, he's been a nightmare for us. For how many years we've seen this guy in the playoffs. And Carlo has been a consistent nightmare. This season, Avery, this guy is unreal. He's a +2 on a team that's a -32. Carlo is the right shot defenseman that the Maple Leafs needed for the longest time. You know what I mean? Now, he's not the greatest analytical defenseman. He's not Kale McCarr, but what he'll do is he'll clear the front of the net and he'll block a lot of fucking shots. And in the playoffs, you need to be able to block shots because you know what I mean? You need the greasiness. And Carlo is that guy. He has a reach. He's big. He's gonna fit and play with Morgan Riley, and that's gonna be the recreation of playoff Morgan Riley, where that guy is just flying all over the ice, setting up plays and scoring big goals. And you know, Riley needed a partner to be able to alleviate the defensive pressure off of him, and this is what Carlo brings. This was a great addition by Brad Treliving, and the sweet part about it is we have him for next year. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, this was a good move for Brad Treliving. I like the additions for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've become a harder team, you know, to play against. Like I at first, like I wanted Rantanen, I wanted a big name, I wanted Tree Living to take a crazy wild swing. But just looking at what we got, it wasn't a lot, but it's substantial. We even got a forward, and we got him from Minnesota, Reese Johnson. You know, I was looking at this guy's stats. In like 54 games, this guy had 178 hits. Bro, that's like 3 point something hits per game. You know what I mean? And he's from Saskatchewan, so you know he's playing the game pissed off. Those guys out there play the game hard and vicious. So, you know, Tree Living, I think, had a great day today, and I'm happy for the additions for the Leafs, man.
Hmm. And as it stands right now, we'll get into it in a second here or later on. If the season were to end today, the first round matchup for the Leafs, Jason, would be a matchup against Tampa Bay in round one.
Oh man. And I don't even want to go off track, but we'll talk about Tampa Bay. But yeah, that matchup now, based off of the moves that both teams made, would be so great. It would be so great for the game.
Right.
Because we all want to see that. We all want to see that.
No, exactly. I think that would be a really, really fun matchup. And going to the other Canadian teams that had an impactful day or an impactful past couple of days here. I know I didn't make a move today, but going west to Edmonton. Edmonton brings in Jake Wallman, and he also bring in Trent Frederick as the two big pieces, and Max Jones comes in as well too. And looking at this now, I see Edmonton bringing in Jake Wallman. He's a more offensive defenseman, but he can help stabilize your back end now. He's going into a defensive unit with guys like Brett Kulak, Matisse Ekholm, Ty Emerson, Evan Bouchard, and now bring in those top guys. For me, I'm a big believer in bring in talent to push everybody else down to improve your depth as opposed to bring in depth to, fill a role. I think that's a good thing because it's going to push down talents are already there to make your second and third pairings better. And we've seen Wallman be a lightning rod before in Detroit and in San Jose. So that's a good bit of work right there for the management to bring in Jake Wallman to Edmonton, Jason.
That was a great move. And the reason why I say that's a great move because now you have two offensive threats on the back end for Edmonton. Now the goaltending has been shaky. We've known this, but if Edmonton's back end can produce points now, which they can with the addition of Jake Wallman, who has a very good IQ, a good skater. He can distribute the puck. He can play on the power play. Edmonton, all they have to do is outscore the opponent. Now, the goalies are going to have to make saves out there. If it's Skinner, he knows what has to be done. But adding Jake Wallman only made Edmonton better on the blue line. And I think based off of what they paid, that GM down there seeing that, okay, I have some picks here. You know what? I'm going to sacrifice and I'm going to add to the team. And not only did they add Wallman, you mentioned a guy like Travis Frederick. Travis
Oh,
Frederick has
Trent
been
Frederick. Yeah.
sorry, Trent.
Yeah.
Travis, sorry, my
Yeah.
bad.
All
Trent.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, Trent Frederick. This guy is a pest. He was playing for Marchand. He was playing with Marchand for how many seasons? So he got to absorb and soak in all of that.
Yeah.
And now he's bringing that to Edmonton. You put this guy on a line with Corey Perry, like that's the line from hell. You have two shit disturbers on the same line. That's like a line from hell. That was a great ad, and I also like the fact that they added like Max Jones. And I like what they're doing out there because now Edmonton just got bigger. Like that's another net front presence, right? Max Jones, power forward. You have Adam Henrique out there. You know what I mean? You added Frederick. He plays a power forward type game. You know what I mean? So you have all this size and length now like in front of the net to cause a disturbance, and you have guys like Bouchard and Nurse who can just hammer the puck from the blue line. You know what I mean? Like Edmonton looks like although they weren't busy today, they did some tidy business to contend in the West because the West now is the new arms race. The East,
Mm.
no. The West, yo, that West, oh my goodness. I think Edmonton put themselves in a good place though.
Yeah.
I think you should be happy as a fan, Avery.
So I think it's good in the sense of, again, I did say before I was on TV earlier today, I was saying how this team needs to get a goaltender. I did want to see them go in and say bring back Cam Talbot, bring in Alex Lyon. But what this shows, so either way, good or bad, this shows if you're Stuart Skinner, this team does believe in me, and it's time for me to lock in and work on figuring out what I struggled on or where I'm going wrong this past season. But yeah, when Trent Frederick is back in the lineup, I know he's out right now. The schedule is getting back in for hopefully the last week of the season, gear him up for the postseason here for game one. But yeah, Edmonton is hopefully in depth going to become a harder team to play against this postseason here. And you're right, Jason. The arms race is in the Western Conference. Again, you have uh, Dallas, Colorado, on top of what's already there in Winnipeg and Vegas and LA. This is gonna be this is gonna be a gritty postseason here out west, and we may as well get into it now. The Western Conference, the big boys the big boys move. Mikko Rantanen, he goes from Carolina to Dallas. He's now a Dallas Star, and he signed an 8-year deal, an extension there with the Stars. And from one point, I look at Dallas and think to myself, "Wow, the Star. I don't mess with Dallas. I don't want to mess with Dallas right now. That's a team that is going to be running rush shot most likely." But at the same time, if you're Carolina, I get it that Rantanen didn't want to sign there or didn't want to sign until whenever. But if I'm Eric Tulsky, I should be looking at it. You know what? Hey, yes, your start here hasn't been the greatest, and maybe you don't want to resign here, but I'm going to take advantage of having you here for the next 25 to 30 games to try and win a Stanley Cup because the Eastern Conference is that wide open right now, Jason.
Well, yeah, like you would think, common sense. Okay, Mikko Rantanen, former Cup winner. I have a good team here in Carolina. You know, like I have Sebastian Aho, who is a fellow countryman of Mikko Rantanen.
Hmm.
You know, let's see what kind of chemistry they can build in the playoffs, and excuse me, let's try to go on a run. You know, like so, like yeah, you weren't able to re-sign him at that moment for the 13 or whatever you offered him. Okay, fine. You gave him a price he didn't want it. You know what I mean? You still keep it, you keep him, and you try to make a run with him. And you go as far as you can go. And if he walks, then you look about restructuring in the offseason based off of free agency because this free agency pool is going to be pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you made the attempt, he didn't take the deal, you still keep him and you play it out. Now, as far as what Carolina got back, yeah, you got a couple of firsts. You got Logan Stankoven, very good hockey player, very tenacious, and he's going to be good for years to come. But if I'm being honest, like he's I can't say that he is like anywhere remotely close to Mikko Rantanen right now. At this point in his young career, Logan Stankoven, I'm speaking of.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to be a good player, unlimited potential, and you know maybe who knows? Maybe one day he will be better than Mikko Rantanen, but right now he is not. But it's a good piece to get back to build upon. He's gonna come in Carolina, and he's gonna give them a little bit of a boost. You know what I mean? But as far as losing Mikko Rantanen, like for me, today Carolina is the loser of the trade deadline, man. Straight up. Like I know we're gonna get to this at the end, but yeah, that's something that they should not have done at all, bro. They should have
Yeah.
kept it and just ran through the playoffs, and whatever happens in the offseason happens.
Mhm. Now, and and I get, yes, you want to try and get value back for Rantanen, but it's a thing in which when Eastern Conference is this wide open, in which there's no, I mean, there are teams that are doing well, but there's no clear cut favor in terms of yes, I'm going to hand you the Stanley Cup. I mean, yes, Florida improved, Tampa improved, but the way the Eastern Conference is going right now, you could get an upset. So if I'm Carolina and I'm Carolina with Mikko Rantanen, or you did have him, I see myself as a player in which, you know what? This could be the year where a Cinderella shocks the world and you have an easier road to a cup final. And if I'm the Hurricanes, when are you ever going to have that level of a player again on your roster? Because Mikko Rantanen,
Exactly.
yeah, like Mikko
Exactly.
Rantanen's don't come every single day. And you found a way to get him in that deal because when this season began, Jason, did you think Mikko Rantanen back in October would be on his third team of his career back in October? Where
No, no. I thought Landeskog was gonna come back and these guys are gonna make a run like in the playoffs, and they're gonna do what Colorado does at the trade deadline. You know, acquire pieces and stuff like they normally do, and you know, go make a deep run and stuff. Like that's what I thought Rantanen would have been there in the play. I never thought like I never expected Rantanen to go to Carolina, and I didn't believe like deep down that Carolina was gonna come off of Nietzsche's, you know,
Hmm.
and I think it was Drury. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why they came off those guys, because those guys were like core guys building blocks, but he took a good risk because he got Mikko Rantanen, the best winger in the world, and I'm not afraid to say that because right now, based off of his accolades, he is the best winger in the world. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, like you said, these guys are not gonna come around every day. This is like a once in a lifetime. Like you have a player like this, you hold on to him and you let it ride in the playoffs because you know how the playoffs is. One injury, you know what I mean? Momentum. Just one little thing could just get you through a series. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that to me was a dumb move, man. Very dumb move on the way I see it, Avery. Like, yeah, not good at all, man.
Yeah, it was, and that's a move in which for the Dallas Stars, I think they're going to thrive in the sense that, I think Dallas was a team that, they were solid, but they didn't have that one final piece put over the top. That puts them over the top when you already have guys like Jason Robertson. You've got the veterans in Ben. You've got
Sagan.
Say Sagan. Yep, you got solid cores that have been a solid core that's been there for a minute. You still have Jake Ottinger in net. Now
Yep.
you add Rantanen to that roster, and the Dallas Stars in Western Conference just became a true juggernaut in their race to get back to a Cup final.
100%. Bro, Wyatt Johnson just signed his extension today. I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember the price value, but Dallas was smart. Okay, we locked up Miko. Jason Robertson's already on a deal. Let's lock up Wyatt Johnson. Right? Like these are the keys to being a good GM.
Yeah,
Finding your guys, locking up certain pieces, acquiring bigger pieces, and then going back and looking at your younger guys and making sure you're allocating a good amount of money. And you know why Johnson's going to outplay that contract, right?
of course.
He is going to outplay that contract
Yeah.
easily, man.
No,
Easily.
no, he absolutely will. And also, too, I mentioned, and there's still guys like Rupe Hintz, Mikael Granlund, Matt Duchene. Like,
Right. Like
Dallas
they're
is that,
loaded.
yeah.
Loaded. They're
They,
scary. Dallas is scary, bro. They're
mhm.
scary.
But yo, imagine the people down there in Dallas who are both Dallas Stars and Dallas Mavericks fans having just the whiplash going from GMs of Nico Harrison and Jim Nill. Like, could you
I know.
imagine?
I know, man. I know. But you know what, though, Dallas? You guys should feel all right now, man. With your hockey team, you guys definitely have a good shot at a cup now. You guys have Ranton and Miko Ranton and a guy, sorry about that, a guy that's been there, that a guy that's won the cup, like I was saying earlier, that guy that can help these younger guys in the locker room get over certain humps. Because if you've been watching Dallas these past couple of years, it's like what you just said, a piece to put them over the top. Now they have it.
hmm No, they really do, and they really do. And my last point in terms of what happened today for the big shockers was we mentioned it earlier. Brad Marchand, after 16 years, Brad Marchand goes to the Florida Panthers, and
Oh my gosh.
we had heard the idea of Marchand earlier in this week being traded, but it was assumed at least that he was going to be dealt most likely to a Western Conference team. And I did not, I assumed he's either going to a team in Canada or he's going to a Western team. I did not think for a second, Jason, that the Florida Panthers were in the mix for Brad Marchand.
Nobody thought. And they got they oh, sorry about that, man. Just getting over a cold. They got him for so cheap too, man. They got Marchand for basically nothing, bro. I would have thought Florida would have had to send a couple roster players, some young prospects, and or something like that. Bro, they got him for nothing, man. They
Yeah.
got Brad Marchand. Now you have Brad Marchand on the wing. You can put Sam Bennett in the middle, and then you could put Matthew Tkachuk on the other wing, bro.
Wild. I mean,
Brother,
that's a
brother.
that's gonna be a hard team to play against. That's gonna be a tough team to play against.
Oh, let's not forget now you have like Jones and Ekblad like controlling the back end now.
hmm
That's insane. And then you have Bobrovsky in net. Like, oh my goodness, bro. Like what? Yo, Florida is definitely yeah, Florida's ready for the arms race, man, for sure. They loaded up too. Colorado loaded up too, Avery. Colorado loaded up, bro. They got Brock Nelson. They came off of Casey Middlestat, but they got Brock Nelson. Colorado is another scary team in the West.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, that is
They're a scary team in the West.
yeah,
They're so
it's
scary, bro.
oh man. You know what? I want to hit you up with this stat, Jason. So, this is the first time since 2002 that the Boston Bruins do not have in their lineup Patrice Bergeron, Zdeno Chara, or Brad Marchand.
From 2002.
Yeah.
And we're in 2025 right now,
Yep.
right?
Yes, sir. First time since 2002 that one of those three guys is not in a Boston Bruins jersey.
Brother, that's yeah, Boston. I don't know. I see, and if we're gonna talk, bro, the market is weird, bro. You know what I mean? Because like if you've seen what Brock Nelson went for, I mean it was a good haul for the Islanders. The Islanders got a good young solid prospect in Callum Ritchie. That he's gonna be a problem for years to come. He has unlimited potential. He's gonna do damage. You know what I'm saying? They got the first, and but I mean, like, what does that do for Colorado, bro? You have McKinnon,
Hmm.
you have Brock Nelson down the middle. Like, it's insane. You have Makar back there. Like, it's so insane out there, man, in Colorado, bro.
Yeah.
The only thing that worries me about Colorado is if they run into Dallas and Ottinger gives the better goaltending because Dallas would have the natural goaltending advantage in that series. Colorado would be forced to just outscore Dallas every game. And Ottinger, when that guy's on, he's on, bro. So I don't know, bro. I'm excited for the playoffs this year. But yeah, that Colorado loaded up too, bro, for sure. Ottawa did a good job too with the Cousins trade, man.
Yeah. No, they did. Like these you're seeing the teams that are on the bubble. Some of these teams usually would be sellers. No, teams are going for it right now. Teams are. I like the aggressiveness of teams even on the bubble trying to go for it, trying to win. But you're seeing now it's weird seeing the Boston Bruins now admitting, you know what, yeah, we're sellers. It's over. That's a wrap because there are.
Yeah.
I mentioned that run of the three names who had been a Boston Bruins jersey, Jason, and there are people who grew up and don't remember when the Boston Bruins were terrible. They don't remember that. I remember those years. You might recall in the early 2000s, the Bruins were horrible.
Yeah, and the Bruins are going into some dark days right now, man. Yeah, they added Casey Middlestat, but I mean, like, man, like, yeah, they're gonna be in problems for quite some time, man. Boston is just gonna retool. I feel bad for Pasternak. You remember that Fresh Prince episode where Will comes in the house and there's no furniture? That's gonna be like David Pasternak at practice, bro. That's gonna be Pasternak at practice, bro. You
Oh
know what I'm
my
saying?
gosh.
Sweeney, yeah, Boston's another loser in the trade deadline. Even though they were sellers, I think they could have got a little bit more, like as far as value coming back. Yeah, you got Fraser Minton, you got Casey Middlestat, so you're building your middle. You know what I mean? You're building your middle, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, you could have got a little bit more. Like, hopefully things work out. Nah, I hope it doesn't work out for you guys in Boston.
Leaf fans are offering, Leaf fans are offering zero sympathy. I mentioned, yeah,
None.
like it's
None.
yeah.
Thank you for Brandon Carlo. We'll take good care. We'll take very good care of him. We'll take very good care of him for sure. We will take good care of him. He'll play with Morgan Riley and provide some stability and substance for us. So thank you for him.
Oh my gosh. I was mentioning the run of Boston. Yeah, last time Boston missed the playoffs, they missed the playoffs in 05, 06, 06, 07. Yeah, there are kids who are in high school who don't recall those years of Boston being a sub 80 point team. And before that, they had a run of making the postseason. They made the playoffs from 01 to 04. And before that, like you mentioned, when the millennium began, the Bruins were awful. 99 2000, they were a 73 point team. Oh, 2001, they missed the playoffs. Like people don't remember when the Bruins were, yeah, they don't recall when the Bruins couldn't crack 80 points. They're too young to remember that.
Yeah, well, now that they were too young to remember it back then, they're gonna see it now, man. Who feels it knows it. Boston's turn for the dark days, man.
I'll say this
Have
much.
fun.
I'll give them this. When Boston's had non-playoff years, they historically, over the past 25 years, they have found a way to turn it around within a year or two. I'll give them credit. Their rebuilds are not long. I'll give them that.
No, not at all, not at all. Because if you look at the gap that you said, you know what I mean. Like, from that time to when Bergeron came, and then Marchand, Chara, Cups came after, or a cup came after. So, like, at the end of the day, it does take time to rebuild, but Boston's not going to take long to rebuild. But
No,
the fact that they're rebuilding and they sold, bro, they sold like, bro, I was just like, holy smokes. The only one they wanted to keep back was like Coyle, not Coyle, McAvoy and
mhm.
Pasternak.
Yeah.
That was insane. And the only reason why they held on to McAvoy is because McAvoy's injured.
Hmm.
Shoulder, right? And Pasta's going to play regardless because he's a warrior. But damn, man. Sweeney just sold off everything.
Yeah, and man, if you're Jeremy Swayman, I know you got your money. I know you're the franchise goaltender, but man, you're going into a future right now where there's quite a few question marks now in terms of what the Bruins want to do.
Well, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. Like, I understand you had to pay Swayman, right? But sorry, guys. Sorry, man. I know you had to pay Swayman, but there could have been a better way where you could have just like maybe bridged him and still kept Allmark, and kept that tandem going if you were gonna go down this route, man. Because now, like, you're gonna have an unmotivated goaltender. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, Spencer Knight now went into a situation where he's playing for one of the worst teams, but he's definitely making a difference out there and inspiring those guys to play hockey in that Blackhawks locker room, bro. Like, so it's definitely going to be the reverse situation of the Spencer Knight going to Chicago. Swayman is going to go through hard times. I'm not going to say he's going to decline, but his numbers are not going to be as they were when those guys were on the roster. Guys like Carlo. Carlo, remember, I was telling you, he's a +2 on a team that's like a -32 or a -35. Like, you lost that guy. You know what I mean? You're in trouble. You're in trouble. It's gonna get harder for Swayman, man. But
Yeah,
maybe this hardship turns him into a Vezina winner, man. You know what I mean? Got to
I
go
mean,
through it, right?
he's done it before, so he's done before. He can do it again. He's that good though, so we'll see.
Yes, sir. We shall. We shall.
We
But yeah,
shall.
Ottawa, I like the moves they made too. They beefed up, man. Cousins at 7.1 million. They have him till he's 30. But
Mhm.
I seen that interview with Chuck there today, and he's crying
Yes.
about Josh Norris. And like, this is the thing now. Like, and you touched on this part earlier in the show, bro. You're talking about teams have to come off players and make that sacrifice to get better. It's all about the cup, and this is what the GM in Ottawa was faced with. Because Norris is not a bad hockey player; he's a very
No.
excellent hockey player. I like his game. You know what I mean? I like the way he plays. If anyone was gonna go, I thought it was gonna be someone else. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was going to be multiple pieces, but that type of swing for Cousins, that player that you're getting, is very solid. He is tenacious on the forecheck. He's big in size. He can play down the middle, and he's gonna have nothing but success in Ottawa. And he actually made Ottawa that much better. You know what I'm saying? Ottawa is gonna be scary in this last little stretch now.
Mm-hmm. And I mentioned Ottawa as that bubble team, that team that is, trying to clinch a wild card spot that could make some noise in the East. You mentioned right there, Josh Norris and Jacob Bernard Docker go to Buffalo to get back Dennis Gilbert, a 2026 second round pick, and Dylan Cousins. And Cousins is, yeah, we saw Cousins be a very effective piece for the Buffalo Sabres. It was a tiny bit of work for Steve Stais to go in and bring a piece that can help that young core of guys like Brady Kachuk, of guys like Rayleigh Gregg, going and so on and so forth. And if you're Dylan Cousins, you have a great chance to be a part of a team that is figuring things. I mean, of course, Buffalo had their young pieces, but Buffalo just keeps spinning their tires, can't figure it out. You're going now to an Ottawa Senators team that is finding a way to figure it out and is playing in front of a solid goaltender in Linus Allmark.
Yep. And this is the thing now. Like you said, you go get a piece like Dylan Cousins. That's going to motivate the boys in the locker room. Yeah, they're going to be sad because they lost a locker room guy that, they played together for a long time and stuff like that. But this is the way the business goes, man. You guys now have a franchise centerman that could play 1C or 2C, wherever you want to put him. And he's young and he has
Mm-hmm.
crazy potential. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So, like, this puts Ottawa in a better place to chase a wild card for sure, man.
yeah.
100%.
No, it does. I know we said it before on this show, but oh man, it would be fun to see a revival of a Toronto Ottawa playoff series this spring.
Well, I want that even more, but I don't think based off of what happened now in the East that's going to happen. I think Tampa's going to push because Tampa beefed up. They have the best top nine in the NHL. And I don't care what anybody says, bro. Like that top nine is disgusting. Point,
Ye-
Hagel, Shirelli, Grensel, who
mhm.
did they add? Gord, Borkstrand. Like, that's it. Gonzalez. This is insane. And
Yeah.
Gonzalez, I didn't know much about him. I just watched him play in Toronto, and I watched Toronto play in Tampa, and I watched his game. And yo, I'm a fan of this guy, man. So like I'm just looking at like and I'm wondering like how does Tampa keep getting these guys and stuff? But then it just goes back to the GM sacrificing their picks to get players to play around the guys that they have there. And we didn't
Yep.
even mention their top gunner, Kucherov. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Tampa's is scary. It's very scary right now. It's very scary right now.
Yeah, no, Nikita Kucherov makes any team a threat, and it keeps Tampa. Even though Tampa lost, even though we know Tampa lost Stamkos, Shea, that is still a very dangerous team with Kucherov in the top nine there. And you mentioned how they bring back Yanni Gord, they bring Oliver Borkstrand, and that's where Julian Breezewater deserves his flowers to find a way to pull it off to bring in a guy who knows your systems well and can be a solid forward in Gord and bringing back a guy who's on pace for another 20 goal season in Oliver Borkstrand. And this is where the management group of guys, the management of Julian Breezewater, of Bill Zito, has shown once again where the Florida teams are not messing around once again.
No, they're not. They are not. They are not. They are not. And whoever draws Florida in the first round and whoever draws Tampa in the first round is gonna have a hard time, man, because that is just going to be a crazy series. Now, this is why it's important now down this stretch that at the deadline, you go and acquire guys that can help you keep your position, maintain your position, or put you over. And Florida did that, Toronto did that, and Tampa did that. So it's going to come down to who's going to execute to see who gets the matchup in the first round. Now, I wouldn't mind a Toronto Ottawa matchup. I'd love that for Ontario, but I wouldn't mind a Toronto Columbus either. But you know, the hard headedness in me wants like a Toronto Florida. You know what I mean? Just because I think now with these pieces we're ready, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and say we're one or two pieces away. I'm liking the way and I'm liking the confidence that Mitch Marner has. You know, ever since this tournament, ever since he set up McDavid to score the game winner, he's been playing different. You could see in his attitude, like he's back checking, he's being more responsible with the puck. He's trying to make things happen, you know, like he's trying to win. Like you could see that extra effort. So it boils down to if he doesn't have no points this season in the playoffs, sorry, and he has no points and he goes as a free agent, I'm okay with that. It just goes to show me that this guy is a regular season guy. But if he goes to the playoffs and they do damage and they win multiple rounds, then you gotta like seriously consider trying to pay this guy and try to build around what you've already started to build. So it's gonna be interesting, man.
Yeah,
These next
no,
couple of weeks of hockey are gonna be very interesting, Avery.
absolutely. It really will be. So before we go, I'll ask you, Jason, I'll give mine as well. Who is your, on this day here, who is your winner and who is your loser?
Well, the loser is Carolina. The winner is Florida. The loser is Carolina. The winner is Florida. I'm not gonna say Dallas because the Ratnan thing was good, but I like the fact that Florida found a way to add Brad Marchand. That they added a guy that is going to help them in this run and change the dynamics of that Florida team under Paul Maurice. That team did an excellent job. They got Seth Jones. They added Marchand. Florida wins the trade deadline, man.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I'm gonna definitely say, my winner is Florida. They're finding a ways to retool and getting better. They're not sitting on their laurel. That's the big thing is that you can be content. The Panthers aren't sitting here and saying, you know what, nah, good enough. That's it is what it is. But I do think my loser is actually going to be a team that wasn't very active when it comes to deadline day, and that's going to be Vancouver. The Vancouver
Ah,
Canucks. They're a team in which we have seen them have just a year in which you deal with the drama of the JT Miller Elias Pettersson thing. you're an in-between team. You're not bad enough to be a lottery team, but you're not really good enough to be a team that's gonna go into these final weeks here and be a real threat, I think, when it comes to the postseason. And Patrick Alvin's presser today just came across as a very strange one when it came to Brock Besser and other matters. And it comes across me once again that the Canucks do not know what they're doing going forward. They didn't know what they were doing to trade deadline here in terms of where they should go. And even though it was a strong sellers, strong market for a seller's market, they didn't move on from Besser to try and get something of value back. So I really don't know what Vancouver wants to do as a franchise because it can't all be on Quinn Hughes, who's basically being the one man show to ensure they're not in the basement this year. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought Vancouver whiffed badly by staying pat this year, Jason. They're my
yeah.
loser.
That was a very good observation. And you know who else is a loser too? Winnipeg, because Winnipeg's seen all these teams around them load up, and all they did was get like Brandon Tanev, who was a good ad, and Luke Shen. That's not going to be enough to help them in a 7 game series against a Dallas, a Vegas. No, so they're a loser too. Like even though they added, but yeah, Vancouver, yeah, it was a seller's market, Avery, and I'm glad you brought that up because if you've seen the prices that good forwards were going for, teams were paying astronomical prices. You could have got rid of Brock Besser and got a nice little care package for Vancouver. Pieces that would have been able to, help like maybe even make a harder push for the playoffs and, you know, make things easier for guys like Quinn Hughes and the other forwards out there, Connor Garland and stuff like that, right? So yeah, that GM in Vancouver not doing nothing definitely, yeah, is a L for him, man, because he should have did something today. Like if he knows like Bosser is not gonna come back, even though you offered him a contract, you should have said, okay, give me a list and let me see what I can get back for you and let me put you where you want to be. You know what I mean? I,
Yeah,
I would have
exactly.
definitely tried to offer Bosser that guy he put in his time in Vancouver. You know what I mean? He didn't really take a shift off, man. That guy put his heart there, like management, he had his little bickles here and there, but like he came out and he played and he performed very well out there for that franchise. So the least you could have done to better your team was to actually try to sell him to get something back of value to build around the pieces that you've already added. Bad enough you traded away JT Miller, like and that had to happen because of the politics. I get it.
Hmm.
You added Hito, like he should have added more around those guys and just let them ride, and he's very very silly for not adding. You're right, that presser was nonchalant, like he didn't care.
Yeah, and I just look like they're a team where I look at them right now and I mean, sure, you have a shot at getting over, maybe you do a shot at closing the gap on Calgary and LA, but I still see Vancouver in this purgatory because okay, I mean, I think last year your window was last year and you lost Edmonton 7. Like what is your identity right now beyond Quinn Hughes? I don't really know what it is because Elias Pettersson has had a phenomenally bad year
Yep.
Elias not had a good year. It's been
No,
all Quinn Hughes, ensuring you're not in the basement. So, and right now, beyond that, I keep saying it. I don't know what the Canucks are. I don't even think they know what they are right now.
they have no identity, and not even Rick Tocchet can fix this. Not even Rick Tocchet can fix this. They need to retool, not really rebuild, but just retool. Start off in free agency and just start trying to acquire pieces that can play around the core that you have there. You know what I mean? And just start from there. Keep
Mm-hmm.
your coach in place, but you need to start in free agency and acquire talent that can play around your core. That's what you need to do right now. Whatever draft picks you have, use them wisely, scout good, and just go from there and just start building for not next season, but the season after. Just give yourself some time, build, and then take a good run at it. But right
Yeah.
now, yeah, I'm not really impressed with what they did. I thought they would have been louder, and I thought Bosser was going somewhere. I thought he was going somewhere, bro. Like I thought Vancouver was gonna trade him. And when I seen that presser, I was just like, yo, this guy is just whining like he doesn't really care about like the team right now. Like, what kind of GM is this, bro?
Yeah,
Like,
like the Patrick Alvin era as GM has been one. If you're like Canucks fans are frustrated, like Canuck fans are pissed. Like Canuck fans on Twitter, like they've been mad at management this entire time of Alvin and Jim Rutherford running this franchise because we've seen again controversy, drama, mayhem, and this team has not gone past the second round. I'd be pissed too.
yeah, man. And it's not like they didn't have the pieces. You know what I mean? They had the pieces, man. They had the pieces. They had the pieces. I don't know, man. I don't know. Some GMs care. Some GMs want to win, and some GMs don't care. And this guy today for Vancouver just showed me like he doesn't really care. You can't tell me that this guy cares. And Vegas went out there and they added. You know what I mean? Florida went out there and they added. Tree Living went out there and he added.
Hmm.
Ottawa added. Like there was teams that added, man,
Yeah.
because they care and they want to make a push. They want to win the cup. Like I don't know, man. And I'm not gonna say I'm sorry for Vancouver fans because I'm not, but I'm just saying like, yo, your GM is terrible, man. Your GM is terrible, man.
Yeah, it was a weird situation, but we'll wrap things up here on Third Intermission, our trade deadline day show special. We'll be back this weekend, taping a new episode with with a special guest, a returning friend of the podcast. You'll find out who very soon. But in the meantime, thank you all once again for letting us grace the space in between your head top.
Don't forget to drink your water, people. Stay hydrated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're out. Deuces.